Hello, my Teaserking family. How is everybody today? I am fine. Oh, I hack more when I cough than when I don't. Anyway, we had the winner yesterday. Excuse me. Cincinnati, Miami, I went over 47 down to 41. It ends 42. It's so difficult with these idiot coaches who Cincinnati did this at the 20-yard line early in the game, 4th and 2, and they go for it. And they run off tackle, and the guy loses 2 yards. And you're basically like, all right, you just gave up 3 points and a field goal, which you probably will need at some point down the road in this game. Why would you just give up 3 points? It's just incredibly stupid what I keep seeing from these coaches. Again, the odds on getting the 4th down are very, very slim. You're not going to just, well, if we can't get 2 yards, we don't deserve to win bullshit. Absolutely ridiculous. So, with that said, it makes it difficult because that final score should have been like 30, and I think Miami missed another extra point, so it should have been like 30-16. And how many times is Miami going for it on 4th down instead of kicking the field goal or punting the team deep? So it's just amazing that Tagliavua, now he got the same hit as the Pitt quarterback, hit his head. I didn't know he had a concussion on Sunday. Again, I didn't see the game, and I don't know if I caught it in the highlights because when I watch the highlights, they don't really get into it. They just kind of show you the scores and stuff like that. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, it was a good one. We had to sweat till the end, but Joe Burrow was an easy pass. But like I was explaining, I didn't know Tagliavua was concussion Sunday. Had I known that, I probably would have played more Cincy plus the 2, figuring Miami wouldn't score. But I don't mind Bridgewater, and he got us a touchdown. So we'll see what happens. Tagliavua, he'll probably be out a month. I would think at least a month. Because you can't, I mean, look at the guy on Pitt, Slovis, at college was out 2 games, and his hit was not nearly as severe. Plus, if this is a double concussion, that's what ended Aikman and Steve Young's career. Played Bengals money line live and took advantage. I don't really know the live stuff. I understand it's betting during the game, but I like to make the pick and off I go. So if I make a pick, like Georgia under, I'm not going to bet it live 15 times. I just let it get there. But good for you. Glad you won on it. So anyway, yeah, way too many 4. I don't know about going. Miami just missed extra points basically, but way too much going for it on 4th down. It cost Cincy a field goal, which they might have needed if they didn't get that late touchdown. We would have needed it for the over. Okay, so let's get in. So I've got 6 locks posted, 5 college and 1 pro, 2 21 units and a 17. I played Cincy in a teaser already with the college game. In BYU, I played in another teaser with Arizona, so I'm going to replay Arizona. So that's why I really don't like those Thursday college games, because if you lose them and you got to re-tease it, and if you win half. But BYU is up 18. Utah State switched quarterbacks on us, of course. Yeah, and the new guy didn't look too bad, and they only lost by 12 or something. They were down 18, so we're pushing, and then they scored with a minute left. So I thought BYU would score more, but that's what happens. Utah State is bad, is weak, which is why I made the bet, but they obviously switched quarterbacks, made a difference. He threw for like 3 touchdowns and stuff. So again, that's where college gets you. They switch quarterbacks on you. You get kind of, blindsided, and then you've got to wait for the okay. Now I know this quarterback, like basically Van Dyke and Rising last year. Miami sucks. So you bet against them, and all of a sudden Van Dyke comes on, throws for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns a game. Where that is this year, I'm beginning to wonder what the coach is doing when you got a Van Dyke. But anyway, so let's go through the pro lines. This will be mostly a pro show, and then we can still talk about some things. I do want to talk about gold and silver today because it's a pretty hot topic. So Minnesota 341.5. That was down from 44. Wow, down 2.5 points. Maybe Winston is out. I'll have to check the injuries. It's usually an injury that drops it. Indy 3.5, 43. I'm surprised that Indy's getting money. I mean, they still aren't very good. The win over KC, I think, was a punt return that got fumbled, so it was a 5-yard touchdown, and then another blown punt where the guy didn't catch it, and then they downed it at the 1, which led to another touchdown. So I'm not sure that Indy's this great team all of a sudden. The Giants 3 over the Bears. God almighty, there's not a lot of games I can't. Okay, Giants are 39.5. That really hasn't moved. Buffalo 351. That moved down from 52. San Diego 5.5, 45. That moved up from 44. Detroit 448. That moved down from 6, I think. Now I know DeAndre Swift, I don't think is playing. He's doubtful, the running back. The Lions appear to be good offense, weak defense, so they're an over team. So the question is now is Seattle. I thought the quarterback's out, but I don't see it on the injury list that Geno Smith's out. They have Locke as the backup, but I'm not. I go into the injuries. I don't see Geno Smith out, so I think he's playing. So I don't know what these guys are talking about. Maybe they thought he was out, and the spread was 6, and now he's back. But if he plays, it probably could get to over. Pitt 3.5, 41.5. Basically, it's about what it was. Philly 6.5, 45.5. That under's gone down from 48. And I'm not surprised there. Dallas 3.5, 41.5. That under's also gone down 1. Cleveland 147.5. That's gone down. I think I got 49 there, and it was 1.5. Carolina -0.5, 43.5. Let's see. Oakland 2.5, 45.5. That stayed. Green Bay 9.5, 40.5. That went down from 10, but that was 9.5 yesterday. KC's now a half point, 45.5 against Tampa. And the Niners 1.5, 42.5 against the Rams. So, what do we have here? So if we go down Minnesota, New Orleans, I'm going to go to my stats. So I am going to be on this docs sheets, which I absolutely hate. So let's take a look. So Minnesota 3 over New Orleans. Minnesota, the scores 19, gives up 18. Kirk Cousins, passing team, and they got 7 sacks. So they got a little bit of sacks. It's Kirk Cousins against New Orleans. And New Orleans is scores 17, gives up 23 with Winston, who I think is out. So they throw for 286. So let me check injuries here if they're telling me Winston's out or not. Where'd the game go? Oh, okay. So Minnesota, you don't know what you have. Let's go. New Orleans injuries. Jarvis Landry. Winston did not practice on Friday. Doubtful with the back and an ankle. So we'll assume Winston's out. So let's look at who their backup is. New Orleans. Ian Book, who I don't think's on the team, or Andy Dalton. So I would assume Andy Dalton's going to be your quarterback, who is not that bad. Probably that's why it probably went under with Dalton. Minnesota, you never know what you get. I got them as an under team, a passing team, and an under defense. And New Orleans, they're a W team. They're an over defense. And so you would think Minnesota would have an easier time with them. Let's see, Kirk Cousins. Where is he? Five touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And that's the problem with Kirk Cousins, right? 5 touchdowns, 3 picks. With those receivers should have more than 5 in we played 3 games. Maybe 6, but 3 picks is a lot. Let's see. Lamar actually has 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, but they didn't win. They lost. They score 100 points against Miami and lose. And did they win last week? Last week, yeah, they beat New England. It was close until the end. So yeah, Baltimore looks pretty live there. So, Dalton's not bad. I never minded Dalton. I didn't think he was the problem at Cincinnati. I thought he was okay. I liked him at TCU. It's a tough game. I liked it under, but at 41.5, it's tough. But I probably still like it under, or like Minnesota, who's not a great road favorite, but they are a good trend here. So a little, I don't like many laying 3, getting 3 on the road at New Orleans. They're not that good. They're an under team, so I think it's an under game would be my guess. Cleveland, Atlanta, Cleveland -1, over under 47.5. Play against Atlanta as a home dog is 12-1, meaning take Cleveland +5, and you're 12-1 in that scenario. If I look at the quarterbacks, Cleveland, Brissett is 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. See, he's better than Cousins. I don't mind him. And then Chubb's pretty good running back. Hunt's okay. I don't mind them. They're not that bad. Brissett's a lot better than he was before. Atlanta. So who's Atlanta's quarterback? Mariota, who 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. So that's your problem with Mariota. They're both over teams, so they both score and they both give up a lot. So when we get into the numbers, so Cleveland scores 28, gives up 24, which in the NFL is a lot. And they are balanced, 199 throwing, 191 running, which is great, and 7 sacks. go up against Atlanta, who scores 27, gives up 27. They are also balanced, kind of. They throw for 213, but they run for 157, and they have 7 sacks. So this is a very good over game, and I like that. It went down to 47.5 for some reason. Again, we'll have to check injuries. I'm not going to check every injury now on the show. It's something I'll do later. But when you buy, you'll see if I don't play something I'm telling you here, it's because of the injuries. Like New Orleans, I got to figure out what I'm going to do with Dalton. I don't like Minnie Lane getting 3. You can't. I mean, they were losing to the Lions at home, for Christ's sake. Cleveland, Atlanta. So this is an over game, 47-41 for two teams, balanced offense, pretty good offenses, pretty weak defenses. I think this is definitely an over game. Seattle and Detroit. I'm going to check the injury. Seattle. So let's see why it opened at 5.5. I thought I saw some 6s. So let's get into Seattle's injuries. Goodwin, the wide receiver, safety, a defensive end, a cornerback, a defensive end, Jamal Adams, Haynes, Travis Homer, Thompson, defensive end, linebacker. I'm glad these guys sat out training camp so nobody would get injured as I go to the 50th person on the list. I do not see the quarterback. I do not see Geno Smith. I see, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 injured guys. Are you kidding me? And then we'll go to Detroit and a bunch of nobodies. And Hawkinson's the only one I've heard of. And DeAndre Swift did not practice. He's doubtful, so that's probably why the line dropped. They have other running backs, and then this St. Brown, who's the receiver, is out with an ankle. So you got Swift out and St. Brown out, who are their offensive type of people. That makes this game. That's why the line went from 50 to 48. I see Geno Smith playing. So in my thing, I almost like Seattle. They're 23-3 as a road dog. Detroit's best running back and best receiver are out. They don't have a defense. Seattle, the whole team's out, it looks like, half their defense, but not their quarterback. So I think this will be a typical Lions game. They get up, Seattle comes roaring back and makes a game out of it. Detroit doesn't know how to beat teams by a lot, so therefore I can easily see this and Seattle 23-3 as a road dog, hanging around, even winning the game. So I like Seattle in 10 here. If Geno Smith was out, I might not, but I don't mind Locke. He's not bad. He played at Denver. He was good at Missouri. Washington, Dallas. Dallas 3.5. A little trend on Dallas. And I looked, I think it was the last, that might be Oakland, Denver, where it was like 2, 2, 2, 2. So it was no trend. But like one team had won in 1 year and the other team won in the next year. Dallas, Washington, 3.5, 41.5. We've got Cooper Rush, who's much better. Dallas scores 15, gives up 17. Very strong defense. A little bit more passing, 216 to 118. They're not really using Elliott that much, but they got 13 sacks, all from the Penn State kid. Washington is getting worse and worse and worse. You thought they were good. Philly laid it on them. They scored 21, give up 27. They don't have a defense. Carson Wentz, enough said. They get 290 a game and only run for 87, and they've only gotten 8 sacks. But if we go down here and we look at Carson Wentz, this will be Carson Wentz. 7 touchdowns and 3 picks. is Carson. I thought it was worse than that. Winston's 4 touchdowns and 5 picks. When you see a guy like here, who's this guy? Matt Ryan on Indy, 3 touchdowns and 4 picks. And then Stafford, 4 touchdowns and 5 picks. And then Kirk Cousins, 5 and 3. That's all you need to see is you got a quarterback that turns the ball over a lot. So I think Dallas wins the game. Again, do I take 2.5? This is the problem in the pros. You don't know. I think Dallas wins it. I like the under because I don't think Washington scores too much in the game, and I don't think Dallas scores. I think they'll have problems getting. I think Dallas sacks Washington a lot, which could set up a short field or a strip sack or a pick 6. But I think Dallas wins, and I think the game's under. Just because I think Dallas doesn't score a lot, but Washington's not going to score on Dallas. This could be like a 20-3 game, like the Philly game, and they'll sack them a lot. With I think I want to. Is it Micah Parsons? I keep mind blanking on the Penn State kid. Chicago and the Giants. The Giants -3. Give me a score. The game's almost even. 2 shitty quarterbacks. 2 under teams, over under at 39.5. The Bears run it. The Giants are both with Barkley and the quarterback. Both quarterbacks want to run. I think it's an under game. It's 39.5 low, but I still think it's an under game. I don't know where the scoring is going to come from. Let's take a look at their numbers. So we've got. We'll go up here. So if we look at the Bears, score 17, give up 19. Fields, he passes for 99 yards a game. Can you believe this? 187 running, which is probably a lot of Fields. So it's an under. They don't even get 300 yards. And we look at the Giants, 19 and 20. So they score 19, give up only 20. Jones throws for 187, and they run for 169, which is a lot of Jones and Barkley. So neither team can pass the ball. They both kind of have some running, and a lot of it's the quarterback running, which is not advisable. 39.5. I think you go under. It's a low under. I wouldn't go much under. I wouldn't play an under much under 39.5. But do I like the Bears at 9? I will not bet Fields on the, so this is the problem. You can't bet Fields to cover this, right? You can't say, oh, I got 9 in the Bears. Okay, I can take Rodgers and I can take Brady and I can take Mahomes giving me 3. I can take 9. That makes sense. Not this. I can't take Fields plus the 9. And how do you take the Giants to win? Okay, I'll take the Giants plus the 3. I can't trust that. So the only way to play this game's under. Go under 45.5 because you can't. In college, we talk about, we know Alabama's going to win. We know Georgia's going to win. And, Utah and UCLA. And, we know these teams are good teams and they're going to win, especially when they play weak teams. Now, when we got an Oklahoma State and Baylor this week, we can't tell you who's going to win, but that's when you tease the dog. And I have no problem taking the dog in that game. But I can't do it in this game. This is the problem with the pros. So far, I've read you 5 games, and I can't give you the winner in any of the 5. Like maybe Dallas. I can't say Minnesota's going to win, especially if Dalton plays. He could win. Cleveland, Atlanta is a toss-up. Seattle, Detroit. Are you going to trust Detroit? Dallas, I kind of trust because of their defense. And the Bears and the Giants. This is the problem with the NFL. I just named you 5 games. I couldn't tell you the winner. If I'm just picking with no point spread, give me the final. I can't give you a final. I can't give you a score. That's how polluted the league is, how bad it is. I mean, I can't name you, like Kirk Cousins is the big Dalton, Brissett and Mariota and Geno Smith and whoever the Lion, whatever, and then Washington with Wentz and Dallas with Rush, and then Fields against Jones. I can't name you a pro quarterback in that whole list. So this is the problem. Now we get to a better game. Buffalo laying 3 to Baltimore. Over under 51. Both teams are passing teams, and but both have running quarterbacks. And Buffalo is an over defense. Buffalo's an under defense. Baltimore's an over. So if I look at the numbers, Baltimore scores 33 a game. Well, look at that versus the 15, 16 of the last 8 games, 8 teams I gave you. But they give up 26. Miami lit them up. New England lit them up. They're more passing, 250 to 135. They get 385 a game. Buffalo scores 30, gives up 13. Allen, who runs too much, 338 passing, 112 running, which is mostly him, for 450. Now they have 11 sacks. Baltimore with 7. So Buffalo will get after you. I think Baltimore at home is after what we've seen with Buffalo losing to Miami, you've basically got, again, as I warned, Buffalo is not that good, right? They kind of blow out the Rams with Stafford throwing 3 picks. That helps the blowout when he's throwing picks, because then you got short fields. Then they beat Tennessee at home, who doesn't really have a quarterback. So I can, so they get a little overinflated. Should Buffalo be favored in Baltimore? I don't really think so. Are they the better team? They've got the better defense. It's pretty much a wash offensively, 33 to 30. And it's pretty much Buffalo does get a little more offense, of 450 a game to 385, and they have more sacks, 11 to 7. So I think Buffalo is slightly the better team. Can I trust Baltimore 9 here? Well, as we saw, Miami beats Buffalo. Now Buffalo goes on the road to Baltimore, and Lamar Jackson's been hot, 10-2, and he can run. So I think this will be a competitive game. I can't say Buffalo's going to blow out Baltimore at Baltimore. Maybe at Buffalo, but not there. So I'm going to like Baltimore here, getting the 9 at home. After now we know Buffalo is human and they bleed, and they lost at Miami with Tagliabue concussion, which is even more ridiculous. Again, both with pretty good passing offenses, and Buffalo with the better defense. So it's a very a lot of injuries to Baltimore. It might also be an over game. I think Baltimore scores and gives up. So Baltimore is an over team, right? Score 33, give up 26. So they're going to score on Buffalo. I know Buffalo's a 13, but that was against, the Rams and Tennessee. And then when they played Miami, they gave up 20. So they're fairly good defensively. But I think there's some injuries there. So it's really a toss-up of Baltimore 9 or going over 45. I think they both win. I think this is one game I think I can trust Baltimore in 9. I think they can get enough points, and they're home dogs. I think that'll help them here. Again, with Buffalo's defense, I think Buffalo will score. I think this game gets easily into the 20s, which is, let's say, 48. Let's say 27-24, which covers your over. So I can see it definitely going over. I don't think the 13. I think Baltimore will find a way to score more than the 13. Miami found a way to put up 20. So I got to feel Baltimore is in the 20s also. But Buffalo should score more on the weak, injured Baltimore defense. Baltimore's had a lot of injuries the last few years. I mean, you go through the injury list, and it's 25 guys now. I don't know how many are taxi or practice guys and then starters. I wish they'd bold it. There was once I used to bold the starter, and you knew, oh, that guy's a starter. Now I got to go in college. I got to go. I know the quarterbacks, but if it's a running back, is this guy the stud or is he just a backup? So I got to check that out. But definitely here, I think this is a bettable game. I don't mind betting against Buffalo with Baltimore. If Lamar Jackson was a real quarterback, I would have really no doubts them getting the 9. So if he's on and throwing and not throwing interceptions, then I do like Baltimore to, maybe even win the game straight out. Tennessee, Indy, Indy minus 3.5. Over under 42. Tennessee's a W team, but got better last week. Indy's an under team and got a couple of brace from Kansas City. Never should have won the game. And they won it with like 20 seconds left. They were 17-13, so they're not scoring. So you got a team that doesn't score. What do you do with the team? Then the other team, how good is the other team? Can they take advantage of a low scoring game? And if we look at Tennessee, we can find Tennessee. They score 17 and give up 28. Weak defense, weak offense. They get 218 pass. They run for 94. There's only 312 with 7 sacks. So this is kind of a weak offense and kind of a weak defense, Tennessee. That's why I have them as a W. Indy, they're the worst offense in the league at 13. They give up 20. So they're kind of a W also, I would say. A little bit of an under, but a W. They throw for 256, run for 104, so they get 361. That's that. Okay, they seem to be able to throw with Matt Ryan, and Taylor should be running for more, and they've only have 4 sacks. So I think Tennessee woke up, got their win last week. I think they keep it close. So let's take a look at the history here. All right. So the history, Tennessee won 34-31, 25-16, 45-26. So Tennessee's won the last 3. And then Indy and then Tennessee again. In Indy, so Tennessee won 34-31 and then won 45-26. So they got no problem going to Indy. So I think Tennessee's a play here, getting 9.5. I just think Indy's too weak offensively to blow them out, right? So it's going to be a nip and tuck. They don't really have a great defense at 20 points a game. Tennessee at 28, but a lot of that skewed with Buffalo. So if we look at the Oakland game, it was 24-22. So their offense is getting better and their defense is getting better. And I think that's what you're going to see here. So I like Tennessee in the 9. They play well in Indy. And how do you trust Indy to blow them out when really they got a gift beating KC? They won't be flat. I don't think it was an emotional, we're going to be flat this week. But I think Tennessee, Tannehill, he's not great, but they do have Henry. And I think now they've got it rolling. They should have beat the Giants week 1. They're probably better in Tennessee, but in this type of game, being a divisional game, they go to Indy every year. I don't think it's a big deal. I think you take the 9.5 because I don't think you're going to trust Indy who scores 13 a game. That means you got 9.5. So 13-9, and you need 1 touchdown from Tennessee, which I can't imagine they're not going to get. I think it'll be a low scoring game, 42.5, even though Tennessee doesn't have a great defense. I'm not sure Indy really is going to take advantage of it. I'm not sure. I kind of have over circled, but I got to question that with Indy's such a weak offensive team. I think the best way to play it's Tennessee in the 9.5. Jacksonville, Philly minus 6.5, over under 45.5. They're both A teams. Yes, Jacksonville and Philly are both A teams. Philadelphia scores 29, gives up 17. Hurst, balanced kind of, 305, throwing 150, running for 456, and they have 12 sacks. And I know they sacked Washington like 7 times. Jacksonville scores 28. So you got 29-17 against 28-13, even a better defense. Lawrence, they thrown for 257, run for 123. So they are getting some running, and I don't think it's from Lawrence. So they're a very live dog, 7 sacks. I think they're a very live dog here. I watched the San Diego game. That was the game I watched the whole game on. That was like the game, the network. And they looked very strong, shutting them down and moving on that defense. They look a lot different, Jacksonville, with the new coach. The offense looks better. I like Jack at 12.5, and I like the game under 45.5 to, 47 at the time, 45.5. I still like it under. I just think both teams have very good defenses. When you're an A team, you're really a good defensive team, right? You can score and you can play defense. And at the end of the day, Jacksonville will key on Hurts and Philly will key on Lawrence. But Jacksonville is more than Lawrence running, where Philly's all Hurts running. So I could see Jacksonville getting a win here. And I definitely think they can go under. I just think Jacksonville is a different team. Obviously, Vegas hasn't caught on. My spread was Philly -4, which I really think is 3. And for them to be 7, I don't buy that. If you watch the Jacksonville, so they shut out Indy 24-0. Then they come back and hammer San Diego 38-10, right? And Herbert played 38-10. I think they got some defensive touchdowns, but Jacksonville looks stronger than you think. They're a very live dog here. They're an A. I have to give them credit. They 28 and give up 13. You're an A team. I got to go with the numbers. And this is why you pay me the big money. They were a Z team for the last 3-4 years, always not scoring and giving up a lot. I let the numbers. So my Z team this year is probably, who's the worst team? Indy's probably close to it. The Jets 17 and give up 27. The Bears 17-19. Even so, San Diego's now like a W. They're 19-28. But if we go with the numbers and let them just choose it, I would say that that's the worst team are the Jets and the Bears. And the Giants are an under. They're 19-20, where the Jets are 17-27. Tennessee's not far behind at 17-28. I don't know that they're a Z team or just the way the schedule's been. And the blowout by Buffalo is they're not, I don't think they're that weak defensively. So I don't think they're a Z. That's where I kind of use a little bit of analytical, but because Jacksonville went to Indy and shut them out, went to San Diego and killed them, that I'm looking at as the A team, but they do have the numbers behind it. The Jets and Pitt lane 3, 41.5. Pitt under team, right? Score 18, give up 22. Good defense. Very weak offense with Trubisky. 190 passing, 90 running, 208. They don't even get 300 freaking yards of offense with Trubisky. When's Pickett coming in? Now, I don't know if Pickett's going to do any better. Again, he's not great. I'd rather have Rising or Van Dyke. These college guys are much better. And they got 9 sacks. So they're going to play D, even though TJ Watt's out. It's the system, and he's got other guys. So I'm not worried about Pitt's D. Then you got the Jets, and Zach Wilson from BYU is back. As I just said, they're probably the Z team. They score 17. They got the weak defense of 27. So now you can't really look at their numbers because Flacco won't be the quarterback. He was throwing for 300. He was throwing 50, 60 times a game. So they have no running. So Pitt's going to have to play a passing type of defense. There's a small trend on actually with the Jets because Pitt, if you play against as a home favorite, 16-3. Let me back up on a few trends. Baltimore 5-0 as a home dog, and there's a trend on Philly. I think it's against Jacksonville as a road dog, but that we got to kind of be careful with. Here, the Jets are the trend. I think Pitt's a weak home favorite, as they are 16-3 against. There's a little bit of Jets with Zach Wilson. Looks like they're going to throw a lot. Pitt, is going to have a hard time blowing them out because they don't have Swan and Stallworth, unfortunately. So you're laying 3.5. You could take the Jets in 9. I don't really over under it. You got an under team in Pitt, and the Jets don't have, you can score on them. So it's a really convoluted game. I don't really like anything. Maybe the Jets in the 9, but I don't want to start betting on the Jets. Are the worst team in the league statistically. San Diego 5.5 over Houston. Again, Bosa's out. What else is new? Keenan Allen is doubtful, and Herbert's going to play with a cracked rib or cartilage or whatever you want to call it. I'm sure he'll be in a flak jacket against Houston. How weak's Houston? So Houston last week, are they getting better? Well, they played the Bears 23-20. Let's give them credit for scoring 20 on the Bears. San Diego is play against San Diego is 44-8 for the last 5-6 years. And that really hasn't changed. All right, you got rid of Phillip Rivers, but Herbert's been there 3 years. It's still 44-8 against. Houston is the trend in this game. Not that they're strong. It's just bet against San Diego keeps popping up. Over under a 45. Again, very weak offense for Houston in an under defense, a passing offense for San Diego. They're not running Eckler enough, I feel, and an over defense. So I think the problem with Houston is what are they going to give you offensively? They score 16, give up 20. Mills is weak. They get 300 yards. That's it. 221 passing, 83. You need to run to play the dog, right? You need a running team to score. San Diego, what are they? 19, give up 28. They're really a W team. He throws for 303, and they only run for 59. So they're not running Eckler. It's all passing. In Houston, I can easily see Houston in 11.5 actually staying in the game because they're at home. I don't love Houston. I can't bet on Mills. I don't know what to do over under because San Diego's weak defense. So I got a weak offense in Houston and a weak defense in San Diego, so they can't take advantage of it. I got a passing team against a good defense. Houston gives up 20 a game, which, now if we look at the Bears put up 23 on them. So that's what I got to figure. San Diego gets in the 20s. Houston against this with the weak offense and a weak defense on San Diego probably gets close, 17, 24-17. So 41. I don't know. I have no idea. I think it's an under game because I don't think Houston does a lot. But I think San Diego can score a little bit on them, but Houston's got a decent defense. If it's the Bears and the Houston is a 43, I think San Diego at Houston, it's a little bit higher, maybe 47. Over under is 45. I think you can go either way on it, over or under, whatever you're comfortable with. Mills seems to be going, maybe it's an over 39. If you think it'll be in the 20s. I think Houston plays a little bit better at home and San Diego on the road. So I think that'll help because San Diego's just terrible, 44-8 against. So it's always bet against San Diego and you win. So I don't know. I think Houston in 11.5 actually is going to hang in the game. They could win because they're at home and Herbert's got the hurt ribs and Allen's out and Bosa's out. Houston, I look at their injury report. I have no idea. I don't know why Mills, who sucked at Stanford's even their starter. I don't understand. I just look at Houston with a blank look like, who are these people? San Diego, of course, I know Bosa and Allen, but outside of that, Eckler and obviously Herbert. But I don't know. I could see Houston maybe not pulling an upset, but this will be like the 24-21 game that take the dog in. Arizona, Carolina won 43.5. Okay, here we go. Arizona 10-0 as a road dog, and Carolina play against as a home favorite 8-0. Here's your trend for the day. Take Arizona in a trend. Carolina laying 1. Should they be favored? Arizona, it's got a lot of injuries. What else is new? I don't think any of these guys should be playing. They're all getting injured. I think they should all sit out and not get injured like in preseason, because that really helps them not get injured in the regular season. Oh my God, it's a nightmare. Carolina -1. I think you can take Arizona in 7. I feel comfortable with Murray that they'll score. Let's look at it. Carolina. They scored 21, give up 20. So they're basically an even team, basically an under team. Weak offense. They throw for 183. They only run for 115. It's not even 300 a game. How are they going to blow out Arizona? Arizona, where are they? Arizona scores 21 but gives up 29. That's their problem. They throw for 265, run for 105. So what you have is this weak defense in Arizona. But let's go to last week's game. They lost 20-12 to the Rams. So they couldn't move on that defense. Carolina, the Rams give up 23. Carolina gives up 20. So will the Rams struggle against Carolina with the receiver injuries? Possibly. This is something we'll have to, try to figure out. Arizona, and the trend is strong road dog and strong play against Carolina. What did they do last week? Carolina. They beat New Orleans 22-14. Winston was hurt in the game. We had the game under, so that won. Carolina 22-14. So New Orleans, Winston got hurt. I should check the box score, make sure Andy Dalton is the backup. So I don't know. I think Arizona is going to score more points, even if they got to use the running backs. They got the guy from Pitt who came from the Steelers, Pitt College. I can't think of his name right now. So Arizona in 7, I think, is a good play. Over under 43. I don't know. Arizona should score, and it should go over 36. But again, you got such a weak defense, a weak offense in Carolina. I think you have to take Arizona in the 7 because Carolina won't score. They maybe get to 20. And Arizona being held down by the Rams and Aaron Donald, are they going to be held down by Carolina? I don't think Carolina is a strong favorite at all. So I think Arizona in 7. Probably one live dog that we can find here. Now, a good game. Green Bay 9.5 over New England. Over under of only 40.5. We all know Green Bay. They where are they? They score 16 and give up 15. That's because of that brilliant week 1 when they didn't show up against Minnesota, and then they scored 14 against a good Tampa Bay defense. But their defense is playing good. So they're now an under team. That's what the beauty of the stats. They're telling me it's an under team. Rodgers throws for 250. They run for 127. So they're kind of a balanced team, and they got 7 sacks. So Green Bay will win the game. New England, is Zapke going to quarter or is Hoya? It depends. I think either Zappi won't know what to do, right? Even though he was great at Western Kentucky, I don't think he's ready. So if they go to Hoyer's terrible. He was terrible at Michigan State. I don't get when these guys suck in college and they bring them in the pros. Like, really? And what are you expecting? Green Bay at 9.5, 40.5. Both passing. Well, I don't know what New England is now. And then Green Bay with a much stronger defense. New England's actually an over defense. New England scores 17, gives up 24. We don't know what their stats are. If Jones isn't playing, they throw for 260, run for 116, 10 sacks. So they should get after. This should be a low-scoring game just because Green Bay's defense, if you can believe that's actually very strong, and they can run the ball with Jones and Dillon. So look for Green Bay to get the win. Now, if it's Hoyer and it's 9.5, it's a tough number because we like to be under 3. But I think Green Bay, I don't think New England, without Jones, who gets all the snap, or under. So if it is Hoyer or Zapke, probably go under. And I think Green Bay wins by, 7. And I think it's one of these 26-7 games where they're just going to shut out New England. New England will keep them a little bit close, although their defense isn't what it used to be. Aaron Rodgers will get a couple of touchdowns, and then they'll sit on it. So it'll be like 20-6, let's say. So I think you can take Green Bay. I know we don't like to lay over 3, but I think here you can, or under 46, I think, depending on New England's quarterback, should be fine. I think Green Bay's getting in the rhythm, got the big win against Tampa, but I don't think it was an emotional, okay, we beat Tampa, and now we're going to be flat this week because they already were flat against Minnesota. They need the game. So I think Green Bay wins this by 2 touchdowns. Finally, a real team. Okay, Denver, Oakland. Denver, 11-2 is a road dog. Play against Oakland, 9-2 is a home favorite. So we got a trend on Denver in this game. Russell Wilson, okay, I can live with that. So we got Russell Wilson. We've got Oakland, who has no coach. Coach sucks. I got Denver as an under team. Denver scores 14, gives up 12. So they're playing strong defense. Russell Wilson, 248, 118 running. So they are getting some good running. They got Melvin Gordon, 365, 9 sacks. So they're pretty balanced, and an outstanding defense against Oakland. Oakland is, I got to see him as the LA Raider or Las Vegas. Scored 21, give up 26. They got a pretty weak defense. Carr, they throw for 285. They don't run. They have no running and only 2 sacks. So Russell Wilson should have all day here. I like Denver as the dog, getting 8.5. They're 11-2 as a road dog, and play against Oakland is 9-2. Also, the under in the game should be live, but Oakland could score a little on them, but with this Denver defense. So let's look at last week, see how they're progressing. Denver, 11-10 against the Niners. That's a pretty good fucking defense. And Oakland, we know they lost to Tennessee 24-22. So they gave up 24 to Tennessee. So look for Denver to probably get 20, and then Oakland maybe 13, 14. So it's a 34. Over-under is 45. That's very high for this type of game. I definitely like it under. I definitely like Denver at 8.5. You can trust Russell Wilson, and this is what I've been trying to ascertain out in the other games. I can't trust their quarterback. I can't trust Brissett and Mariota and Jones on Seattle and Jones on New York, and they're all named Jones now. It's terrible. Just way too many. But I can trust Russell Wilson if the game, even if they're down 10, well, you got 8.5. He'll get the late touchdown like he did against the Niners, scored late. The game's on the line, he'll win. He's getting used to Judy and the other kid from Penn State. So they're getting the receivers. They're starting to roll, and they're a good road dog. Definitely like Denver here. Either way, over or 8.5. KC and Tampa. KC laying a half or 1, over under a 45. I don't have to even go into detail. I got KC as a B team. Scored 29, but their defense is giving up 22. It's going to be a problem here. Tampa Bay is actually an under team. Go figure that out, but we can figure it out right now. They score 17. They give up 9 freaking points, and Green Bay got 14 on them. Green Bay only got 14. So let's go into, well, we don't really, Tampa, we know it's Brady, 224, and they run for 86. Their offense has been a little bit weak. Kansas City, obviously, all Mahomes, 286. They're running 93 for 379. They do have 10 sacks. and Tampa's got 11. So there's going to be some sacking in this game. Tom Brady, as a dog, you do not fuck with. He wins as a dog all the time. At home, especially off of a loss to Green Bay. Now, what happened? He didn't have any receivers. They were all out, right? Julio Jones was out. The Godwin, or one of those, Godwin or the other guy, took the suspension, so he was out. So he had no receivers. They're both back this week. Julio Jones and, let's say, Godwin are both back. So he will have receivers to throw to. He's got Fournette. Obviously, the defense, they held Rodgers to 14, and they were going in. They were at the goal line, going to 21, and they forced the fumble. That's good defense. KC lost to fucking Houston or to Indy? Really? So if any team's kind of pissed, it's KC. But where was their offense against Indy? Now they fumbled a punt at the 5. They didn't handle another punt and had the ball at the 1. But where was their scoring? They didn't score on Indy. Indy's defense gives up 20, and here comes Tampa giving up 9. I don't see KC really lighting it up. I actually never thought I'd say this. Kind of like the game over, and I definitely like Tampa Bay off of a loss as a home dog. They're 12-1 as a home dog, which kind of is past. It's kind of past that Brady time, right? So it's a couple of years, but even before Brady, they're still a good home dog. So what you have is Tampa. You got Tampa, let's say +1, so let's go +7, over under a 45. If you're scared of Mahomes, and then Julio Jones and the other receiver, who I can't remember the name, are both back, that maybe Tampa scores a little bit more. What do we need? 45. If we go under 51, we want the game in the 20s. We want the game, if we go under 50, so if we go over 39, we want the game in the 20s. What do we think the score is going to be of this game? And the way it looks, I mean, freaking Kansas City put up a whole 17 on Indy last week. I don't see Kansas City rolling here either. I think Tampa, they beat them in the Super Bowl. They know how to play them. Although they knew how to beat Green Bay. The difference is they didn't have any receivers. When you got a Brady, you need the receivers, and now they do. So I look for Tampa to bounce back as a home dog here. You can't fuck with Brady twice. Take Tampa Bay and 6.5, 7. I think that's the best way. I don't know if I want to go under with Brady Mahomes. It worked with Brady and Rodgers. I didn't play it under. I think I played it over, but with the receivers back, I think Tampa does get a little bit more scoring, which will be good as the dog, and I think that's what you got to do. The Rams and the Niners. The Niners have covered the last set. They won the last 6. I remember I had them in the championship game, and if the guy doesn't miss the interception, they would have won the last 7, but they did cover. So the Niners own this series, the last 7. The Rams are a decent road dog. Frisco doesn't show anything as a home favorite. They're laying 1.5. I got the Rams as an even team. So the Rams score 20, give up 23. The defense isn't as strong. Their offense, okay. 7 sacks, mostly passing, 254 to Cooper Kupp. And the Rams and the Niners are a under team. The Niners score 16 but give up 12. That tough defense. Garoppolo, now it's a balance, but a weak balance. They throw for 180, run for 150, and 337. I think this is now the Niners have been good the last 7, 1.5. I like the game under because Frisco's got such a dominant defense. 43.5, 49. Let's look at last week. The Rams put up a whole 20 on a weak Arizona defense, and the Niners were an 11-10 game. You're not getting points. I think this is a good under. Now, let me go back and see what we have here. What am I missing? Play Bengal. Okay. Christopher, afternoon. Good afternoon, Christopher. Had a nice two-leg teaser last night. Bengals spread and BYU under. Great way to roll into the weekend. Yeah, Cincinnati. Well, like I said, had I known Tagovailoa was so hurt, I would have taken the Bengals. But we had the Bengals. We played it over, so it's the same thing. We got the win. We took Burrow over, and BYU under. Yeah, BYU. Well, a new quarterback came in, and looked pretty good for Utah State. 54. Yeah, 60 is a big number. I would have thought BYU beat them, 45-10. So it still would have been an under. So that's a nice play, Christopher. So that's what we have here. Right now I got one pro lock. I got 5 college locks. So I got a college pro lock and I've switched it. So if you buy either package, so what I had, the problem last week is I had Georgia with, I think the Niners under. So that was my locks. I had college with the pro. I'll play the best 2 in the lock. I don't care if it's college or pro. And I go to my program and I go, well, this one guy bought college. This other guy bought pro. If I market college, the pro guy doesn't see it. And if I market pro, the college guy doesn't see it. What can we do? Can you make a college/pro list? And then we tested it. So if you had college, you'd see it. If you had pros, you'd see it. So that was our change, but he's got to change it on history. So when I market a winner, that it shows I get the credit for the win on because he's either got the pro or the college as the in the history. Christopher, the pro slate this week definitely has tougher plays. College locks really good this week. Yeah. Well, college I love. I mean, I probably have 20 games I could play. I posted most of them. Again, I have 5 locks, and right now they just look. They don't look like there's a problem. I mean, the locks are. There's so many games where I can trust. So, what do I talk about in the pros? Excuse me, I just want to check an email. I'm expecting an email that this guy takes a long time to email back, and he still hasn't. All right. So let me ask the question to the family. So if somebody's looking into something at 9 in the morning, 9:30, and I say, okay, let me know what happens, and now it's 1:30, at what point do you call them and re-email them to say, okay, what's going on? Where's your response? I'm trying to be nice, but I'm getting kind of like a little bit, can't you freaking answer the question? So anyway, that's my question. The pro slate this week. The pro slate, the reason it's tough, I can take the dog in the Florida State game, the dog in the Clemson, North Carolina State game, the dog in Oak State, Baylor, the dog in UCLA, Washington, and feel very comfortable that I got the team that could easily win, but they're getting points and they're getting 8 or 9 points. I have no problem with that. I mean, but am I going to take the Bears in 9 against the Giants? Am I going to take Seattle in 10 against Detroit? Am I going to take New Orleans in 9 against Minnesota? This is the problem. These quarterbacks are so bad and the coaches are so bad that what do you do with it? I can't trust it. That's what leads me to more over-unders because I say, well, the coaches are terrible. The quarterbacks suck, so how are they going to score a lot? They're bad. We saw a good quarterback play last night with Joe Burrow, but how are we going to get? So the only quarterbacks we can trust are Mahomes, Russell Wilson, Brady, and Rodgers. And outside of that, maybe Stafford, who I can trust as a dog. I can't trust Garoppolo, and I can't trust Carr, and you go down the list. Murray, no, and Carolina. I like Mayfield, but I'm not going to trust him as a dog. And that's the problem. It's a very difficult thing. So you end up with more overs and unders. Washington, Dallas. I'm not trusting Wentz. Dallas has Russ, and they have a great defense. So can I take Washington as a dog? And the answer is no. I can't take them as a dog. I can't trust they're going to score. Therefore, can I trust Dallas to win? Well, do I bet they probably will win, but I certainly know it'll be a low scoring game. So that leads me to the only way to trust, since I can't trust the quarterback, is that they're not going to score. To your question, I usually expect answers sooner rather than later, but I know people aren't the best communicators. It makes it frustrating. Well, this is an old boss, and they owe me like a check, and they were supposed to get my paycheck today, and it didn't come. And I'm like, what the fuck? Where is it? Well, I'll go look into payroll. I got a meeting with them at 9:30, and I'll get back to you. I said, well, I just want to make sure I'm going to get it. And where's my check then? It's supposed to come direct deposit. You're going to FedEx it? Okay, so what's the conclusion? You're saying I'm going to get it, as I should, but then where is the conclusion? Are you FedExing it to me, or am I supposed to wait till Monday to get it? I got to pay rent. What is it you want me to do here? And then when you're dealing with money, now you're really like, okay, I'm going to get it. Is fine, but I even have the same thing here where some guy is going to pay me. He does an option with me. I'll pay you half now and half in 2 weeks, and 2 weeks comes and you're waiting and waiting, and you send him an email. Hey, it's been 2 weeks. And, finally you get it, like you're pulling teeth, and it's the same thing. It's like, why do I have to do that? So, am I worried about getting it? No, but rent's due tomorrow. I prefer to use that as opposed to going into my money to do that. I have plans for the money. I want to go buy more gold and silver, before everything crashes. So, and I just want to know what the plans are. But okay, I have a meeting at 9:30. Don't worry, you should get it. Today I just checked the bank. I didn't get anything. At least give me a response and say, he's a CFO, so I know he's busy, and I get that, but you can't leave me hanging about my paycheck. That's something you can't leave hanging. You can leave other things hanging, but you can't leave that hanging. So we'll see. And I love when I call him, he doesn't answer. So I call him, I text him, and I email him, and he responds to the email. So it's pretty funny, but screw it. Okay, I think I'm going to get the check, but when and what the fuck? He's trying to blame it as a payroll error. Well, the gal, didn't send. What the fuck kind of business are you running that your payroll person doesn't send the check? So anyway, I'm just glad I'm not working there anymore. Believe me, it was way too frustrating. They're back in the Middle Ages. Anyway, enough said there. I will give them a call after we're done here. So that's what you have. So let's go through the games one more time for people that are adding. Minnesota, New Orleans, mini 341.5. I like the game under. Cleveland, Atlanta, Cleveland -1, over under 47.5. A trend of play against Atlanta as a home dog, 12-1. So Cleveland would be the play plus the 4.5, but I like the game over 47.5. But again, I got to check the latest injuries because the lines are moving too much. That there's so many injuries. Detroit 4 over Seattle, over under 48. Seattle's 23-3 as a road dog, as we know, although they let us down at San Francisco where we had 15. But Detroit, the running back's out, the receiver's out, and Ed Goff sucks. So as far as I know, Seattle's quarterback's playing. So I don't know. I think it's Seattle grabbing the points. I don't know about the over. Washington, Dallas 3.5, 41.5. I like the under there. The Bears and the Giants -3 would have been a good game in 1985. I think that was the win game when the Bears won 20-0 in the championship game, and the Giant punter missed the ball. He goes to punt, he misses it because the wind blew it. I like under 39.5 there. I can't trust taking Chicago in 9. One of the games of the week, Buffalo 3 over Baltimore, over under 51. I actually think I like Baltimore in 9. Jackson's playing well. I think they'll score enough to make it close. Over under 51. Buffalo's got a pretty good defense. I don't know, but Baltimore's defense is pretty weak. But I think if they get down, they'll score. So I think it could go over. Tennessee, Indy 3.5, over under 42.5. I like Tennessee in 9.5 there. Indy just doesn't score. Jacksonville, Philly 6.5, 45.5. I like Jacksonville. I like the under. Jacksonville is an A team now after watching the Indy game, but then after watching the San Diego game, they're for real. They have a good offense. That guy from Georgia, the number 1 pick, looks great. One of the reasons Georgia only gave up 6 points a game last year. He was their best player, so he's making a difference. So I definitely think Jacksonville gets the W, and it should be low scoring because their defense and Philly's defense are very strong. And Hurts, I think they'll just shut down Hurts with their speed. He can't throw, he can't run, he can't throw, so they're going to be in trouble. The Jets and Pitt 3.5, 41.5. The trend is play against home favorite. Or let's go back. Baltimore's 5-0 as a home dog. Play against Pitt as a home favorite is 16-3, meaning at home they do not blow out. So even though they might win by 3 or 4 or 7. If you take the Jets in 9, you win. Now, I don't know if I trust the Jets. Zach Wilson's back, but that's the trend in the game. San Diego 5.5 over Houston 45. Play against San Diego is 44-8 over the last 5 or 6 years. I honestly like Houston to keep it close, not to win, but they played the Bears close. San Diego's without Bosa and without Keenan Allen, probably. Now, if Keenan Allen plays, then maybe San Diego wins. Without him, I think Houston keeps the game close. Carolina won 43.5 against Arizona. I like Arizona 10-0 as a road dog, and play against Carolina as a home favorite 8-0. So it's a Arizona trend. And the thing that blows my mind about Arizona, they're 10-0 as a road dog, but they're 10-0 the other way as a home dog. So if they're a home dog like they were to the Rams last week, they lose 20-12. The trend was all play against Arizona, and they get killed at home. But then as a road dog, they went and beat Oakland, right? So on the road as a dog, Arizona's very strong. But at home, they're not very strong. So I don't know. I can't explain that. I mean, either you're a good dog or you're not. You'd think you'd be a better dog at home, but they're not. Green Bay 9.5, 40.5 against New England. I like Green Bay. I think they'll win 24-0. I don't know who New England's quarterback is. I doubt it'll be Jones, which leaves Zappy or Hoyer. Zappy I like, but hasn't played, and against Green Bay, he's not going to do much. Probably not the team to start him against. Jones has a high ankle sprain. I don't think you're going to see him, and that leaves Hoyer, who sucks. So depending on who you get, it's definitely a Green Bay play. Oakland 2.5 over Denver, 45.5. Denver 11-2 is a road dog. Play against Oakland is a home favorite, 9-2. It's a Denver trend. I like Denver and Russell Wilson getting 8.5. KC, let's call it 145 against Tampa. Jones and the other receiver. It's not the A&M guy. It's the other guy. I think are both back this week, so he'll have receivers. 12-1 is a home dog. I like Tampa as a home dog. If it goes favorite, but then I'll probably like KC. If I can get 7 with KC, probably. But with Tampa's defense and Brady, I'll take them plus a 7. In the last game, the Niners and the Rams, the Niners are 1.5, 43.5. Frisco has covered the last 7 in the series, including the championship game. They had won 6 straight. They lost that because the guy didn't intercept, but they play the Rams very tough. And I like the under in this game because of the defenses. The Niners defense is strong. They'll stop Stafford. They don't run it much. They don't score a lot. Should be a low scoring game. 43.5, 49.5. And it's funny in this modern football, I see a lot less scoring, even though they've opened it up where there should be more scoring because of the passing. The quarterbacks are so weak. The idiot coaches with the play calling where they go for 4th and 2 all the time really keeps the score down. Like yesterday, Cincinnati's at the 22, 4th and 2. Kick your freaking field goal. What are you doing? No, I'm going to go for it on 4th and 2, and I don't make it. Well, that's points off the board because you could have kicked your field goal. And then other teams got the momentum and they got the ball at the 20. So that's really killing. It's like a turnover. It's like throwing an interception at the 10, at their 10. That kills the over because you needed that score and then they get the ball back. So unless you get that turnover right back, those leads to under. Like a turnover in the end zone, if you're going in, leads to an under. But if it's at your end zone and they get the ball at your 1, then it leads to an over. The less time goes off. So that's my thoughts on that. So it's a tough pros. I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. Like Jacksonville's an A now. They're getting 7. They should never be getting this much. This should be a 3-point game. Philly's not that good. Okay, they beat Detroit 38-35 because Hurts ran all over the place. Then they go ahead and they beat Washington, 24-8. And they sack Wentz 10 times because Wentz can't read a defense. So he doesn't know when they're blitzing, and he doesn't know what to do with the ball when they do. Well, if they blitz Brady, you wouldn't have 1 sack. He'd just dump it over your head. It's like, oh, they're blitzing from the left. I'm going to throw it to, hey, receiver, I'm throwing it to you. Hike, throw it. You can't sack him because he gets rid of the ball because he knows what to do. So it's very hard to even blitz him. Wentz doesn't have a clue. Most of these guys, Fields, all the Alabama guys, they don't have a clue when they're being blitzed. And I would just blitz them all day. I would blitz Lamar Jackson all day. These guys can't read a defense. They don't know when the blitz is coming and the outlets. A Brady, a Rodgers, Mahomes, Russell Wilson, they know what to do with it. That's why we bet on them, because I'm the defensive coordinator and I'm facing Lamar Jackson. I got 2 extra safeties in the game, and every play I'm blitzing him and let him – he's not going to run on me because I got 2 safeties in the game to check his speed. Where's he going to go? That's what I would do and say, go ahead and run it on me because I'm taking away his legs, and that's how you got to play him. So that is the pros. Again, we had Cincinnati over 42. Christopher had Cincinnati. Again, Tagliavua looks like he's going to be out for a month. So he's really got 2 concussions in 4 days. I can't see him playing next week. I don't know what they're doing. Are they trying to get him hurt? And then because they don't like him, and this way they're saying he doesn't throw the ball deep. He's not really a good quarterback. But if we get him hurt, then that's our excuse. Because he's hurt, we won't play him. Is that what they're trying to do? I don't know, but he was getting better. Last night he didn't look good. Gets the injury. Bridgewater, he's okay. I don't mind him. So again, we got to see, but I'd say Cincinnati looks like an A team again. They're definitely scoring. They're definitely getting much better on their defense. The defense looked really good. So I think Cincinnati's back to an A team with Burrow, back to a playoff team. Kansas City, I can't believe they lost at Indy. What a joke that is. We'll see a better game against Tampa, but I still like Tampa with the receivers back. And basically, the Niners look like a strong D. And then you got teams like the Bears, the Giants, Carolina, Houston. What do you think? These are, I bet 10 teams in college would beat them. I would take Baylor over half these teams, in Georgia and Alabama. It's just pathetic. these teams, these quarterbacks aren't NFL quarterbacks. So there's a lot of unders going around just because they're not going to score. I mean, you got a 43 in the Bears Houston game. That was my lock, under 46. And I was a little worried because it was like 14-10. I'm like, in the first half, I'm like, oh my God. Unfortunately, they played up to their speed in the second half, and there wasn't any scoring, and it ended 23-20. But I mean, there you go. That's basically what you have. Just a very weak league. So it makes picking overs and unders more attractive than who can I trust. I couldn't even trust KC to go to Indy and win, right? I got away with Burrow. I trusted him and he won. And I trusted Oakland sucked, and they did. And Tennessee got him last week. But I don't really have that. I mean, I guess I like Jacksonville this week, and probably Green Bay and Denver and Tampa Bay, the Niners under. I mean, it's just maybe Dallas under, the Bears Giants under. I mean, you can't even the Bears Giants. You can't even predict the score. You could be 10-9. You could be 21-20. You have no idea if they're going to score or they're not, and what the score is going to be, and all this. So makes it a very very hard to predict this. Anybody telling you that the pros are easy because you just tease the dog is not. Maybe in the Giant Washington game, you tease the dog, you win. Maybe in that game, maybe the Carolina Arizona tease the dog, you win. Maybe in the Pitt Jet game, are you going to take the Jets against Pitt and tease the dog? Are you going to take the Houston as the dog against San Diego? That's the problem. You got to do it before the game. And then it's easy to say after the fact, well, look at tease the dog, but you want to tease the Jets and Houston, and good luck, but it's hard to bet on those, even thinking, well, just bet a teaser and it'll be good. Very hard to really pick that. So makes it again, you've got to pick before the game, not after. Yeah, it'd be a lot easier if we could just make the picks after the game, but you've got to pick it before, and you got to try to figure out what you think will happen. And it's hard to play a Z team. It's hard to play the Jets and say, well, I'm going to take the Jets because it's the NFL and the dog is going to be good. It's just very hard to do that. So anyway, that's my video. I got to go make a phone call and see when I'm getting my money. Try not to get too frustrated. I think I'll get it. It's hopefully it'll be a FedEx, or I'll get it Monday. But again, great communication skills here. Anyway, we will see. So big week, big college week, 5 locks, 1 pro lock. I don't know if I'll have any other pro locks, maybe one, but definitely college. I got an open teaser with Cincinnati over last night, and just looking forward to another big college week, that's for sure. And then in the pros, I think we've got about 6 or 7 that I feel pretty good about. Outside of that, I mean, some of them you just got to walk away from and say, Seattle, Detroit, I give. I'm just going to, I'm not going to make a comment on it because it's just too difficult to do. Anyway, that's it. Any other questions or comments? Well, you have me. Again, www.teaserking.com. You can get my email and email me. That I check all the time. Obviously, there's a live chat, so I can't come on. I'll come in tomorrow morning and just check lines. If all of a sudden, now there's one thing I am a little concerned about. Florida State, Wake Forest is the hurricane. A couple years ago, I locked like North Carolina was playing Miami or something like that, and it was a beautiful over game, right? Over was like 70. And I go play the over, and I love the over. And then the hurricane hits, and they played I think it was Notre Dame and North Carolina, and they were both high scoring. And the hurricane came, and it was like 3-0 because it was just windy and raining the whole game. And so that's the only thing. Okay, the hurricane touched down, I think, yesterday. So by tomorrow, it should be okay. The field should drain. I think Florida State will be okay. It's on that side of Florida. It's on the Tampa side. So there's a couple of Florida games, and then the question is it going to come up and bite North Carolina? Or we got Clemson. We've got, let's see, who might be bothered by it. The Wake Forest, Florida State, North Carolina State, Clemson, Kentucky, Ole Miss. I don't know if Ole Miss is in the way or not. Temple, Memphis could be. Let's see. SMU, UCF. UCF is Central Florida. It's near Tampa. Or did it blow through and by game time it'll be calm? That's what I don't know. That's what I think's happening. I think it's already blown through. South Alabama, Lou Lafayette. Is it going to bother Louisiana and Mississippi? Lou Mato, Arkansas State. Is it going to bother Arkansas, or is it coming up the coast? East Carolina, South Florida. Now, South Florida is near Miami. I don't think that was too bothered. Virginia Duke could be. And that's it. Then we go West Coast. So there could be a few games, but I think it's gone through. So I don't think it'll still be around if it just like a regular storm blew through and now it's calm after. I think that's what it is. But it kind of did everything yesterday. So I got a buddy in near Orlando, so I can see if it's still real windy or if he's calm. Then I'm not real. Again, the field's still drying, and as long as it's not a huge wind and a huge rain, the games should go like the way. Like I think Wake Forest, Florida State should be high scoring if it's calm. If it's rainy and windy, you can throw that out the window. They'll be lucky to get 10 points. So that's one game I'm really anxious about making sure it's kind of calm. So if it's calm in Orlando, it's calm in Florida State, which is below a little more central Florida. Anyway, that's all you look at. The pros. See, by Sunday, I think it should be calm. I think Carolina will be one, and Tampa, KC Tampa could be affected. By Sunday, it's probably gone through, but it might affect their practice. I don't know. Those two games, Pitt, Philly, Indy, Baltimore, the Giants, Dallas, Detroit, Atlanta. Yeah, Atlanta's indoors. So it shouldn't bother maybe the Tampa, maybe the Carolina. But by Sunday, I would think it'd be calm and the field drained. So you got to keep an eye on that. Again, I had a lock a couple years ago, and that hurricane came through North Carolina. I had a lock over, and it just killed me because they couldn't move. And it was like, I think it was North Carolina State against Notre Dame or something like that. And it ended like 6-0 or 10-3. And then the over-under was like 65. And if it was a calm day, they would have went way over it. So just be careful of these strange like weather things that happen that could cause a game to not be played normally. We always assume it's going to be 75 and sunny on these games, but you do have to take into account the weather. So hopefully it won't bother the games that we need. Anyway, I think that's about it. www.teaserking.com. You get my email. If you want to buy a package, let me know. Anything, like I said, if you want to do payments, it's okay. I prefer you just make the payment, but if you got to do payments, it's okay. Just give me the date and then pay on the date, and it's fine. All right. I think that's about it then. So those are your games. 1 lock in pro, 5 locks in college. And we hit the Cincinnati over game yesterday. And we'll see what happens. So a lot of good games in college. Just a beautiful week for that. All right, everybody, have a great day, and I will be on tomorrow morning just to go through lines. So, not too long, but I'll read the lines, see if there's any changes, and see if there's any injuries that popped up. Okay, everybody, have a great day. Good luck to you this weekend.